Welcome back. When we last left off, our brave adventurers had traveled to the town of Lowland, where one of them destroyed a statue. On accident, of course. And they learned of a vampire that was plaguing their mine. Well, unfortunately, a rift in time and space appeared and swallowed the rogue. So without the rogue, the barbarian returned to the guild for reinforcements, where he met two knights who had decided to join. They had heard rumors of this guild and wished to join. Well, repairs had been done to the guild, and while the walls were still in rubble and only the highest point was 3 foot tall, they still had a watermelon patch with half a fence around it that had started to sprout a little bit, showing much progress. They had a well, a door, and a magical field that any magical effects that met contact with it become inactive. So a random firebolt goes flying, no one gets harmed. From there, the three of them returned to Lowland once again. One of the knights rode a griffin, while the other rode a horse. The horse remained outside while the griffin joined them, traveling deep into the mine, where they find an elevator. For the first knight, who had left his mount outside, joined the guildmaster and stepped upon the elevator. They rode safely to the bottom. The elevator was brought back to the top. And the other knight, on his mighty steed, climbed on the elevator, only to hear a snapping noise as the elevator began to plummet. His griffin extended its wings, only to be able to grab onto another floor. Uncertain of where he was, he began searching. He looked down the hole to the bottom, where the barbarian, who was the guildmaster, had lit a torch. Luckily, he was not that far up, because he could see the light. He pulled out his rope, and rolling his die, chancing fate, a bar appeared out of nowhere that was perfect for tying a rope onto. He climbed down to the bottom. The three of them proceeded deeper into the mine, where they found a little girl. A happy, sweet, wonderful little vampire girl. So this 9-year-old looking girl, who was actually about 300, had claimed a thrall, one of the dwarven miners, and combat ensued. The knight on his mount, traveling around the room, lancing the vampire, leaving hole after hole. The other knight, attacking from a distance, firing bolts at it. And finally the barbarian, with the die against him, missing, he charged forth and swung at the air. He charged forth again and stuck his weapon in the wall. Finally, after several lancings, the barbarian had his chance. He drew his hand axe and sliced the vampire in half. Then they dealt with the thrall, vanquishing it in much less time. Then the knight got off his mount, took the corpses, and set them on fire. So, logically, after destroying a vampire and its thrall in this pitch-black mine, with only their torch and the burning corpses, they decided to rest. I mean, it only makes perfect sense, right? After several hours, their flames from the corpse and the torch went out, and they found themselves in complete darkness. Luckily, due to a special enchanted ring that can produce minor sparks, and not much else, the barbarian slapped his torch back to life. The knight with the griffin then went back up, climbing the shaft with his griffin to grab his rope. Meanwhile, the barbarian climbs the rope, also to untie the rope and get it. He joins the knight on the mount, and the other knight grabs onto the rope, and they exit the mine. They are approached by the mayor. He then rewards the two knights with 50 gold, and gives the barbarian a special prize. A letter saying that he has successfully paid off his debt for destroying the statue. Then, as previously agreed, several of the dwarves took some rocks, some stone, and traveled to the guild hall and began making repairs. Upon returning to the guild hall, they find that those were some incredibly fast workers, because their guild now had a full stone building, walls, roof. They began asking around. Carl, the farmhand, had been speaking with Quinn, the man who had agreed to build the force field. They paid Quinn half the money in advance, but Carl convinced him that if he joined the guild, he could join if he forgave the debt. So Quinn accepted, and spoke with the guildmaster on this matter, who accepted. The guildmaster proceeded to pat Carl on the back. Meanwhile, Dale, a mage who had been given money and sent to purchase wood, had returned, only with news that the price of wood would only increase, and he could not get the amount he was sent after. So, of course, the team set forth to Burkton, a wood elf community set in the woods. On their way, a rift in time and space opens up, sucking up the knight and his griffin, and spitting out a large, half-human demon thing. It's really weird. It's got a snake body and a female upper torso with 6 arms. Along with it, the rogue, who has returned to the party. They proceed into Lowland, to Burkton. Spent so much time in Lowland, I can't stop saying Lowland. Burkton. There are several buildings, a blacksmith, a town hall, a store, an inn/tavern called the Wood Inn, and a miscellaneous building. So our demon snake thing goes to the blacksmith. Once inside the blacksmith, she waits until all other customers have left. She then grabs a battle axe and uses it to block the door so that it cannot be opened. The blacksmith is too busy working on his next weapon. The giant snake demon lady approaches and strangles him until he is unconscious. He is still alive, only unconscious. She then finds the most powerful armor available in the store. A set of plate armor. She then begins performing a ritual that would bind the armor directly to her. Meanwhile, the rogue goes to the town hall, while the barbarian and the knight travel to the Wood Inn. Inside, they meet a one-armed barmaid, who is extremely busy but is a hard worker, so the knight decides to tip her. The rogue goes and speaks to the mayor of the town, who talks of a dangerous creature deep in the woods, making it difficult for them to gather wood to sell. He goes and explores the store, finding that everything there is more expensive than he can afford. He then goes to the miscellaneous building only to find that it is residential area. Basically, it's an apartment for wood elves. After about an hour, they all happen to meet up at the blacksmith, only to find that the door is still locked. The rogue busts down the door, only to have the great axe pierce through him. They see the giant demon snake lady thing performing this satanic ritual. And they watch as the armor liquefies and begins wrapping around her, forming perfectly to her body. And then they felt a power come over them as someone, a greater force, pressed the pause button, as that is where our story ends. For now.